welcome to Up and About. I'm your host, Eniola Lunge. On Up and About, we actively pursue the development and the prosperity of the African continent. The show is positioned as a transgenerational show. This means that we'll be speaking with business leaders across different experiences or different levels of experiences, and we will be leveraging on the wealth of knowledge that they have gathered over the years. On this episode, we will be focusing on the educational industry. So you know how schools are everywhere, and you want to see how education is evolving in the 21st century. So to help us do that and to walk us through that landscape, we have two amazing, parties who are heavily invested in the educational space in Nigeria. Please make welcome with me, Judith Usiakpor.
Judith Usiakpor is the director of Spring Lake School, a childcare and early years education center focused on developing the whole child by fostering cognitive, physical, moral, spiritual, and emotional development in a safe, clean, and child-centric environment. She is certified in the theory and practice of the Montessori method of education and child psychology. As co-founder of Cool Teachers Nigeria, she promotes the total well-being, empowerment, and rebranding of the Nigerian teacher. She's happily married with 3 boys and enjoys shopping in her spare time.
Our second guest for today is none other than Hanson Nnadi.
Hanson Nnadi is the founder and CEO of Revise. Prior to establishing the company, he had worked at Digital Ace, Simfix Nigeria Limited, Multinet Group Limited, Ericsson, and British Heart Foundation, amongst others. He has professional certifications in brand management from London Business School, a degree in advanced project management from Said Business School, University of Oxford, and a master's degree in project management from the University of Salford.
Okay, so today we are going to be going into all things educational, how you can start your own educational business, what are the opportunities that are prevalent in the educational space in Nigeria. But before we go on to ask our guests the questions, let's go on a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Up and About. I'm your host, Eniola Lunge. In the studio with me today, I have 2 amazing people who are going to walk us through the educational landscape in Nigeria. With me, I have Judith Usiakpor as well as Hanson and Nnadi. So the very first question, growing up, did you ever did you think that, oh, this girl is going to end up a teacher, or this boy is going to end up in the educational space? Judith, let's go first.
No, I didn't. So I studied plant biology and biotechnology as my first degree. So I really never thought that I would be a teacher. So post NYC, I served in a bank. So post NYC, I got employed at the bank I served. But before I concluded my pre-employment requirements, I was told to take a break before they could get the certification and the applications for me to get into the bank ready. So within that time, I got a job at a school. So I worked in a school as an assistant teacher for 2 months, and it was amazing. I loved it. I loved the children. I loved the fact that I could go to school and teach a child a skill. Actually see a child. The child didn't know this before now, and then teach that skill, and then the child really got it, and the child now knows it because I taught the child. So I sort of fell in love with it. I thought, oh wow, I'm impacting a life. And I was really rethinking the whole banking thing, but my family and friends thought I was crazy. Like, how do you leave banking and then you want to, you want to work in a school? So I went on to work in a bank. I did that for about 2 years, but then I knew I needed more. I wanted to be around children. I wanted to make that kind of impact. So yeah, I resigned and I went back to teaching, and I've been joyfully teaching for over a decade now.
Wonderful. Hanson,
I mean,
what's your journey into education?
It's the same thing for me as well. I did not grow up thinking that I wanted to work in education or become a teacher. I have done some teaching before, but I mean, this was a couple of years ago. I was in the UK at the time. I was in business school, and this opportunity came up to do some volunteering. So I was a private tutor to this 11-year-old white kid, who was preparing to write his exams, and it was my first experience teaching. It was just sort of something I devoted my extra hours to. But while I was in business school as well, I actually learned about Warren Buffett, who I'm sure a lot of people know. And Warren Buffett has this, one of his interviews, he said that if he died today, he's in his 80s, and that if he died today, he would always wanted to be remembered as a teacher. And I thought that was interesting because he's not a teacher, I mean, he's a businessman and an investor. But it also made me realize, what teaching really is. I don't think you need to have that job title per se, to be a teacher. And I think if we all look within, I think everybody has a little bit of that. So I don't think there was any time that I sat down to say, I wanted to become a teacher. I think it was just, a series of events. And, and now as a business, we've also seen some opportunity in that space as well, just with the trends. And, we're just trying to build something that, that helps people on a daily basis.
We'll talk about trends in a minute.
Of course.
But that was so philosophical, like I said. You should look within. Everybody's a teacher. So even if you feel like you don't have anything to offer, if you look within, like Hanson has said, I'm sure that you'll find within yourself something that will be of value to another person. And so, Judith, I just want to quickly ask you, why did you choose to focus on early years education?
It wasn't really a choice. Okay, so that was the first sector of education I got exposed to. So I started out as an early childhood educator. So the assistant teacher role I had was that of an early childhood educator. So that was how I started out, and I fell in love with it. And along the line, I got to realize that the early years actually the most important years of a child's life. So that age between 0 months to 7 years, they're the most important time of a child's life. They form the foundation for which we shape the child's future, their growth, their development, their social skills, their emotional skills. It is very important. But sadly, we don't take it very seriously. We see it as a time where we just give care. So you have a 3-month-old baby, you just think, all I need to do for my baby is give him or her a bath or change their diaper, and that's all they need. They need to take a nap. But then there are areas of their development that you need to pay close attention to, because research shows that that period of the child's life is when most parts of their brain actually develop. So it's very important that we pay attention to that. So for me, I just thought, that's great. So I can actually be part of something that will affect a child's entire life, because it starts from 0 to age 7. So that was why I chose to focus on that age group.
Wonderful. So Hanson, you were talking about trends in education, and what are you doing in a manner of, or in a way to jump on the educational trends globally and to localize the trends in Africa, or specifically in Nigeria?
Okay. If you look closely at, I took my first online course, I think in 2013, and I completed it,
Congratulations.
and that's really important, because actually most people sign up and they never even start. I think a lot of the online learning platforms also noticed this as well, and they've made some changes. But I think the most interesting thing about the course was just access, because this happened to be one of the best universities in the world, and I was not even in that country. And just the fact that I had access to the same teachers, the same knowledge, at I think I paid about maybe $50, because the course was actually free. You just had to pay if you wanted to get a certificate. And I found that very, very fascinating. Since then, I think in edtech and education technology generally, a lot of billion-dollar companies have sort of sprang up, in that area. And what we sort of what I also started to notice is that it's not just in developed countries that this is happening. Today, everybody has access to internet on their mobile phones, These platforms also have apps, where people can take courses. And what we started doing was just to ask around, started speaking to people, started looking at what people were searching for online. And for example, I can tell you easily that in Nigeria, the most searched course, the course that has the most searches on Google today is digital marketing. So that's actually where this started.
Okay.
I run a marketing agency at the moment as well. And, we started, once we saw that there was this opportunity, we started teaching on digital marketing. But we also realized that there are other courses that also have very high demand as well, web design and web development. And so it was a thing of, people are looking for these courses online. And, how, and, we are just trying to build a platform, where they can have access to not just the courses, because you can learn that anywhere. But I think the tutors are also really really important, and that's basically what we've sort of seen people do.
All right. So I have another question,
Okay.
but I'm going to just allow us to go on a break before I ask
Okay.
that question.
All right.
All right, guys. We'll be right back with more on the show. But first, let's take a quick, short break.
So my friends and I, my teacher friends and I, when we go out, when we say, "Oh, I'm a teacher," they're like, "No way,
You don't look like
you don't look at it like a teacher." And I'm like, "How does a teacher look?"
Did you know? 1. Iran is the only country where girls and boys are educated separately until college. 2. The King's School in Canterbury, England is the world's oldest school and was founded 597 AD. 3. Students in China receive the most homework in the world, with an average of 14 hours worth of homework per week. 4. India has the largest school in the world in terms of numbers, with over 32,000 students. 5. Ethiopia applied affirmative action towards girls and went from a girls' enrollment rate of 40% in 1999 to 90% in 2008 at primary level. Now you know.
Welcome back. This is still Up and About, and we are discussing the education industry. And just before we went on the break, we were talking trends in education, and in particular, edutech, the courses online courses, especially since this pandemic hit. They have been a huge part of the pandemic experience. So everybody was on one online course or the other, whether they started, whether they signed up, or whether they completed it. That's a matter for another day. So now, Hanson, I want you to tell us what the value proposition of your edutech firm is, and why people who currently subscribe to probably other global platforms should seek local solutions that you are providing.
Okay. So what you find out with global companies is, because they're operating in so many markets, many times it can be quite difficult for them to like go deep into these markets. That's the first problem. Many times the best companies are able to solve that problem over time, but at the beginning stages, what they also tend to do is they want to focus on the markets that actually where they make the most revenue. So easily, these are developed markets, where people have higher disposable income and have better access to internet as well. So you see many of these courses, many of these online platforms would tend to focus on North America, Europe, sometimes China, but Africa is always largely neglected. If we keen, fine, but they don't necessarily see us as a growth area at the moment, unless this tends to happen. But and even down the line, not necessarily. Companies like Google, Facebook, they have things going on here, but many of these platforms are not, they're not that big yet, so they might not have the same resources. So they tend to focus in those markets, and so that leaves a gap. That leaves a gap here. For example, if you go on Udemy and you check the languages that they have, you'd only see things like English, Spanish, French, you wouldn't see things like Igbo or Yoruba or something. I mean, I've been trying to learn Igbo for years because I'm Igbo and I don't know how to speak Igbo. And I always say, that if I find the right opportunity, like I would jump on it. But it just
So are
never.
you offering courses in Igbo?
So the idea is to build courses that, yeah, well, yes,
Because I
but
would love to. That would be fantastic.
but yeah. So the idea is to build courses, that are that's tailored for the Nigerian audience. Do you understand? What we are doing at the moment is, we're using both quantitative and qualitative data, just to get a very good idea of what it is that people are looking for. Like I told you with the online searches, what you find out is in many subjects, there are some things that just sort of have to be tailored to the Nigerian because we're different. We're different from even one flight. If you go to Ghana, we're very different from Ghanaians, and we're very different from South Africans as well. So what we're trying to do is just stuff that is. So for example, if you want to learn about say personal branding, for example, how are you able to do that, but like in the Nigerian context? Do you get what I mean? And these courses will also be taught by people who are sort of experts, Nigerian experts, like in those spaces. Do you understand? People tend to take more than one online course from different platforms. This is also what we've learned just speaking to people. So it's very easily someone will take a personal branding course here, maybe a course on marketing somewhere else as well. And I think that just once you're able to keep that balance of both local and international, it gives you a better perspective.
Wonderful, that's amazing. I really like the language because I think that will really encourage and fast track the development because I think language is an actual barrier to accessing knowledge and information. And if somebody says or teaches in English and you have somebody else who is interpreting and the other person who is learning somewhere in Kano or who's learning somewhere in Delta State and doesn't really have a great command of the English language, they will be able to identify more and actually get the information and the treasures that the person in the course is talking about. And so let's just go back to Judith now. In light of the pandemic, how have you been able to leverage on technology in reaching your kids and making sure that the education continues?
Wow. It's been a very tough one, bearing in mind the age group of the children that we work with. So in my school presently, we have children between the ages of 3 months to 5 years. So you can imagine having to engage a 2-year-old over the internet. It's a lot of work, but we were able to do it. So what we did was so we had live classes and we also had hands-on activities and recorded videos that their parents could play for them all the time. So it wasn't just the live classes. So with the live classes, we got on Zoom, so the teachers were able to do their circle time, do their show and tell activities, do their music classes, do all of that via Zoom. But we kept the classes really short because their attention span is like, if you know it all, like you know what I'm talking about. So we had like 30 minutes live classes. Then we had their teachers record videos teaching them the concepts that we needed them to learn. So as opposed to them going on YouTube and saying some stranger say, oh, this is or whatever. So we got their teachers to make those recordings, which was tough initially because we had to get the teachers to know how to use the tools. So prior to that time, teachers didn't have to record a video. You would just think, oh, is it not just take your camera and record it, and just So we had to go through the process of teaching our teachers how to use those tools. So they had to learn how to record a video, get the proper angles, add animations to their videos, add text, make it look interesting so that the children will be willing to sit and actually go through with the lessons. So we had pre-recorded videos and we had the live classes and it went well. It was a struggle initially, but we did it and learning did take place, which is what is important for us.
Exactly. Yes. So you mentioned when you were speaking, you had to teach the teachers. And I know that
Extra work.
You have a group or an association, Cool Teachers Nigeria.
Yes, we do.
Yes, so I want to ask you, how did that come about?
Cool teachers. Yes, we're cool. Yeah, so Cool Teachers Nigeria. So we noticed that there needed to be some form of rebranding for teachers in Nigeria. Because so my friends and I, my teacher friends and I, when we go out, when we say, oh, I'm a teacher, and you're like, no way, you don't look at it like a teacher. And I'm like, how does a teacher look, Like, and that got us thinking that really we need to do something about this narrative. Like, people just can't keep thinking teachers should look a particular way. And if the younger generation have that perception as well, and you think, oh, teachers are cool, teachers look funny, or teachers look a particular way, they won't want to get in the profession. And what happens if we have a future where we have no teachers to teach? So we thought it would be nice to rebrand the profession. So that was how Cool Teachers started. So we started an online platform where we sell branded teacher items. So we have cool t-shirts that teachers can wear that has nice things written on it, or it takes a lot of sparkles to be a teacher. Just cool things. Teaching is my superpower, mugs and all of that. Then we'll also share tips that will help teachers know that they can actually leave. You don't have, when we came in here, you said we all have black on because it's serious. Yeah. No, teaching doesn't have to be serious for learning to take place. We have fun too. So we share tips where teachers can actually learn how to live a balanced life. So you can be a teacher and have fun. You can be a teacher and live your life because you're teaching children anyway. So you need to teach them how to find a balance as well. So yeah, so that's how we started Cool Teachers Nigeria.
Wonderful. I love it. And I think it's very important that the narrative regards to teaching changes in order to have people that you actually ask, how you ask a child, what you want to be in future. Yeah. Most people say doctors, lawyer, engineer. I didn't know to them. You'll hardly find someone who say, oh, I want to be a teacher. And I think that if we are able to change the narrative and encourage the young people to, get an interest in teaching other people, I think that would be fantastic. So we will be going into government policies now and what we think can be done better in that area in the educational industry. But before we go into that, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
How to succeed in the industry. 1. Be fun and energetic. 2. Be up to date with industry developments. 3. Be creative and think outside the box. 4. Set goals with your students. 5. Listen and show empathy about personal issues.
Welcome back. This is still Up and About. So we are on the last segment for the show today, and we're going to be talking about government policies and what the government can do to make sure that the educational industry, or just the educational landscape in Nigeria, is actually advancing and we're not backtracking. Okay. So Judith, while you're setting up your school, did you experience any bottlenecks, any government bottlenecks, or what did you see was missing in the process?
Okay, so we started Spring Lake School 3 years ago. So before then, I'd had stories of how, you need to go to Alausa, go to the ministry, they'll tell you to return, they'll tell you to do this, all those government things, right? So, but when I started the process, I didn't go through all of that. I went into an office, got the application form, they said they needed to do a name check. What I found strange was they had these stacks of registers that they had to go through, to look for a name that sounded like mine for the name check. So what I expected was they'll have a database and they'll just, search Spring Lake School and say, oh, that name is taken, you can't use that name, But the guy had to go through it. I'm like, okay, please, I don't want to come back here tomorrow. Can I just help you? So they had to go through that, and then there's the inspection stage. So when you get the application form, you complete it, pay the dues and all of that. Then there's the inspection stage where they will give you a list of things you need to have in your school. So as it concerns health and safety, the number of toilets you should have, just things around the general well-being of your children. So you get a list. So I got the list and I went and I made sure we had all of that. And then they called to say, oh, we're coming for inspection. So they came for inspection and they just looked around and they ticked off all the boxes. They saw the things that they had requested for that we had them. And I got a call like 2 weeks after to say, oh, the approval, the provisional approval was ready. I needed to make some payments and all. And I went and I did that. I didn't encounter any of that. I mean, any difficulty getting the approval. But I know of people who have. I don't know. I don't know what happened in my case. Maybe grace. But I've had people say, oh, the person I met was this, was that. They had to go through a lot of things. I know.
Well, so I think that from what you have said, the process does not seem too burdensome.
No.
And so for anybody who might have been thinking that, oh, all these people with schools, they really want to know somebody higher up.
No, you don't need to know
Exactly.
anyone.
So there's no need for any connection. All you need is, oh, I want to open a school. Why do you want to open a school? If it's for a good cause, if you're actually looking to impact the lives of the children that you're going to be coming in contact with positively, then I mean, go for it. And then let's go to the issue of funding.
Okay.
Hanson, for your firm, do you need any kind of funding?
Well, at some stage, yes. At the moment, not really. Like with every tech company, yes. I mean, we would definitely need some funding to grow the company. But those funds are not, they don't usually come from the government in any shape or form, and they usually would come from investors who sort of see an opportunity to make a return on their capital. Yeah, I think speaking about government, I think interestingly, I think government does some very interesting work in education. I know that schools in Nigeria, private schools in Nigeria, are actually not required to pay taxes, and it has been like that for the longest. They're actually tax exempt. Am I correct?
Income tax, yeah.
And I think they know this just from Nigerians. Actually, I think by our culture, we actually really value education. National Bureau of Statistics released this report that sort of showed a breakdown of household expenditure in Nigeria, and education is actually fourth on that table. Yeah, and this is after food, transport, health, and you have education. And I think it was about 2.4 trillion naira or something like that. Yeah, so Nigerians really value education, and I think I think the thing with the government is they have very fantastic policies. I think the issue just comes in the implementation of those policies.
Definitely.
But I know that regarding policies in education, I think the government has done a good job in that area.
Owning a school, right? So you have the technical skills. So you need to know something about education. You need to know what it takes to teach a child. You need to have the certifications. You need to have the trainings, the proper training, and all. That's very, very important. I don't think education is something you should go into with the sole aim of making profits, right? And not know about learning, because the business of education is learning, right? So you should know about learning, how children will learn and all. So you should know. But if you're coming in as an investor, you should have someone who knows. It's easy to just think. So for preschools, for example, people think, oh, what's in there? Is it not just for the children to come around and they sing A, B, C, or they count 1, 2, 3? It's not true. You need to pay attention to every stage of their development.
Right.
So it's not just about them knowing 1, 2, 3 and knowing ABCs. So you need to get the technical skills. And if you're coming as an investor, get someone who has the technical skills and pay them well. Because it's common for you to just say it's just ABC and 1, 2, 3, and you get anyone to do it. And at the end of the day, you're not doing what the business of education is, which is learning. So know that you're coming into a business which is about giving, it's about learning. It's not so much about the money. Yes, the money will come. It's a business, but before the money is the learning that needs to take place.
Exactly.
Yes.
I
So.
totally agree. That's it.
Anybody. So I think like I said earlier, I strongly believe that anybody can teach. But I think she made a very valid point about learning to teach. You might have a certain skill, but are you able to communicate that skill to another individual in a way that they're able to learn? And what we've seen with a lot of the online learning platforms is they sort of open doors to, anybody and everybody can go up, set up an online course and basically sell to the world as it is today. So I think and we are also going to be providing the opportunity as well. But like she rightly said, I think people they can see through you. They always say the customer is not an idiot, she's your mom. So, so if at the end of the day you're not a good teacher,
Right.
People basically will not won't
Refer
commit
you.
exactly or take your courses,
Exactly.
because there'll be their reviews, their comments, all that stuff, ratings, and those things. And yes, pay teacher more. I'm actually a big believer in that. I think teachers are highly undervalued, and I'm a big believer that teachers should be paid more.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Thank you guys for coming on the show today. You guys have said a lot of things. So if you're looking to start your own educational business, whether it's in edutech or you're going to actually, make or own a physical school, there is opportunity and there is space for you in the industry. So let go of all the fears that you're feeling. Speak to somebody if you still cannot, get over your fear, and just go for it. So before we let our guests go, we're going to play a quick game. So let me just ask you this: have you guys played Taboo before?
I haven't.
I haven't.
Are you sure? That was like I have to let me check them. Are you sure?
No, I haven't.
All right. So Taboo is like worded charades. So there is a word, and I can't use specific words to describe that word to you, but I'm going to try my best to get you guys to say the word that I'm trying to get you guys to say.
Okay.
And so we have 3 cards here. So the winner will get 2 correct, and the loser will get one correct.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
Or not? Okay, it's on. The battle line has been drawn. So are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. If a child is very, so it's very hard. So bear with me. So if a child is like Albert Einstein, you say the child is, yes,
Innovative,
another one,
creative,
Smart.
another
Clever.
adjective,
Intelligent.
correct? Okay, so Hanson 1, Judith, Neil. Okay, the second one. So in high school, after they finish their final year, they have this big event that everybody wants to go for and look fancy to. Start guessing, guys.
Prom.
Correct. Hanson, you knew
That was quick. She works in the school. I couldn't.
not a high school.
No.
Fair.
Okay, so the last one. Time. Are you ready?
Yes.
So let's go. So when a child is little and you're teaching them things in a sing-song manner, what can you call it?
Nursery rhymes.
Rhyme.
Judith is the winner!
Thank you.
Were those education related questions?
Yes.
That makes sense. Obviously, she was going to win.
No.
Yeah,
You
you
got the
I would
first
have put
one.
my money on her to
You
win.
got the first one.
Well, I did.
Exactly, but you failed the last two. So that goes to show that you can start winning. You can start losing in the beginning, but in the end you win.
You win.
Of course.
That's a learning moment, guys.
Of course.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. Also, don't forget to follow us on our social media pages. Alright, so till I come your way again, same time next week, keep being amazing.